What's up everybody, this is Josh, finally back with another video after my 1 week break because of university stuff. And I recently got started with testing for Power of the Elements format because it is the format we're going to be playing at the European Championship. And of course the most important deck by far is Splight, and I started looking at it on stream and it is very, very powerful. So I figured I would make a little introduction video. Now keep in mind I haven't been playing this deck for a super long time, I've just been messing around with it for 1 or 2 streams. So I don't have the most sophisticated deck list for it yet, or the most experience possible, but I'm going to show you the current deck list that I have towards the end of this video after going through some beginner combos, just the cookie cutter stuff. So let's just hop on over to Dueling Book, shall we? Now, splites are all the main deck splites are level 2 monsters that special summon themselves if you have a level or rank 2 monster on the board, and they all do very, very powerful things on the field. Now, there's one that searches a monster, which is the one that we're going to use in this combo as a starter, but there's also one that searches a spell and trap. There's also one that negates monster effects, and there's one that negates spell and traps. I'll show you those as we go along. Now, for this first combo, which is a very basic combo, it's a combo consisting of Deep Sea Diva and Splight Blue, and you'll see how much this ends up on. You'll see in a second. So we're going to start with the Deep Sea Diva. Summon a second Diva from the deck, that's all what it's here for. Because we have the level 2 on the board, we can now trigger our Splight Blue, which is going to add us another Splight monster from deck to hand, which of course is going to be Splight Jet, which is the one that adds a spell trap from deck to hand if special summoned. Now we're going to special summon that too. We're going to grab a spell card, which I haven't shown you that card yet. It's Splight Starter, which is basically an emergency teleport for splites, which is pretty good. It does lock you into level 2, level rank link 2 monsters for the rest of the turn only, but that doesn't really matter. So we're going to use that card immediately to summon Splight Red. Now Splight Red is very powerful because it says you contribute another level or link 2 monster or rank 2 to negate a monster effect, which means you are now Nibiru proof with this combo. Very important. We're going to overlay these two into one of the broken Splight extra deck monsters, which is Gigantic Splight, which is detach a material and summon any level 2 monster from your deck. Any. So you already know what we're going to summon with this boy. We're summoning Swap Frog. The boy Swap Frog is here, sending a Ronin Toad into the grave, but it gets better. It gets better. We're linking into the new Splight Link monster, which is Splight Elf, which once per turn, as a quick effect, you target a level 2 monster in the graveyard and special summon it. And it's even better if your opponent controls a monster, we can even bring back a rank 2 or link 2. Which is going to come into play later on. I'll show you. Now, we bring back the Swap Frog, send another Swap Frog from deck to grave, banish the Swap Frog, bring back the Ronin Toad in, and there we go, we have our Toad online. And we're also going to turn these other 2 splites into an IP. There's some other options you can go for here, but I've chosen IP for this replay. It doesn't really matter. And what this does is we're going to use Toad in the opponent's standby phase. We have Dupe Frog. So this is technically our end board, right? We have a Toad negate. We have an IP, which turns into Unicorn, potentially, or a Goddess of the Underworld. We have a Splight Red, which is a monster negate. So that alone is 3 interaction, but it's even better, because the Splight Elf, like I said, is a quick effect, and it can reborn an XYZ monster if the opponent controls a monster. So what we're going to do, after we've negated with Toad, added back our Diva, or Swap Frog, we can bring back the Toad and negate again, because that's not once per turn. So summoning 1 Toad in Splites is 2 negates. So this is 2 negates with Toad, and 2 add-backs for that matter. Like if we negate with Toad again, we can add back another Water, which gives us our discard for the Unicorn. Keep in mind, we have 3 other cards in hand at this point, so the follow-up is always very strong. We have the negate with the Splight Elf, not Splight Elf, the Splight Red, and we can IP into a Unicorn, which is very, very strong. All of this is very, very strong. And also Splight Elf makes it so cards that it points to cannot be targeted. So you cannot impermanence like the Toad it points to, or you cannot impermanence the IP, whatever. Like you cannot interrupt this. You cannot target the cards. Okay, this is one combo, very cookie cutter. This is the end board I think you're gonna see most often from Splight overall. The Elf, the Toad, the Splight Red, and the IP. Very, very common board. Now there's a different variation of this combo, which actually, it starts out the same way, right? Summon Diva, summon the 2 best splites, and keep the starter in hand here for a second, because we're going to do something very cool. You've probably heard about this, but there's a way how splites can search hand traps, and I'm going to show you this to you real quick. Now we can't search Max C, which is something the OCG can do because Max C is a level 2, they can summon it with Gigantic Splight and bounce it with Swap Frog and cute stuff like that. What we can do though is we can Hulk with the 2 Divas and summon an Ash Blossom, which is important that we summon the Hulk before using the starter because the starter locks us into level rank 2 monsters, so we wouldn't be able to summon the Ash Blossom. But what we can do now is we summon Gigantic. Actually, we would probably use the starter first, but the sequencing doesn't really matter here, just showing off the combos. We summon the Splight Red now to be proof against some hand traps. We use the Gigantic Splight to summon the Swap Frog, dump a Ronin, and we can now use the Swap Frog to bounce back the Ash Blossom. And we can still do the rest of the combo as normal. We summon Elf, bring back Swap Frog sends another frog, banish that for Ronin. Ronin makes the Toad. And this way, instead of IP, it was the same amount of cards. Instead of IP, we have Ash, which could be something to consider against like Droplets or Dark Ruler or stuff like that, right? Overall, the combo is a little weaker because with this one, you actually do play into Nibiru. However, it's very possible that people simply won't play Nibiru next format. So this can be something that, especially after siding, you might want to prioritize this combo in order to be better against cards like Dark Ruler, like Droplet. It's definitely possible that we choose this combo sometimes. So these are the two, like there's a thousand variations of these combos, but they usually end on the same thing. You can try and figure them out yourself, some of them, right? Because you can do pretty much the same thing with Swap Frog plus a Splight. You can do stuff with like just Diva is also a good combo. But mainly, you're familiar with the cards. It's like, I'm going to show you, for example, what you can do with just one Swap Frog, which is also very impressive. It's not as busted, of course, but it's still a lot more than you could do before Splites. So you're going to summon a Swap Frog, you're going to turn it into an Almirage, you're going to banish the Swap Frog for the Ronin Toadin, you're going to make your Splite Elf, bring back the Ronin Toadin, and here's something very cool about Gigantic Splight that actually hasn't come up so far, but the card says, for this card's XYZ summon, you can treat Link 2 monsters as level 2. So you can actually overlay Splight Elf into a Gigantic Splight, which is it feels wrong, but it's possible. So what you can do is here you can detach the Ronin Toadin to summon another Swap Frog from your deck, bounce another Swap Frog, banish, and you get to one singular Swap Frog now is Gigantic Splight plus Toad, which is unheard of, dude. It's very powerful. And there's a second variation where you do the exact same thing until you get the Gigantic Splight, you detach. You don't have to go for Toad, you can also go into your Splight cards, right? You can go Splight Blue, Special Splight Jet, add Splight Starter. I would only do this if you run this card though, which is not a staple, not everyone does. This is 2 level 2 Dark Monsters. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a monster, you can detach 2 materials, negate the activation, and inflict 500. So you have a monster negate this way, and you have the Splight Starter in hand, which what you can do is you just set it, and on your opponent's turn, it can turn into any of these. So here you can see all the Splites. You can turn it into Blue or Jet for follow-up, to search another monster or another spell, or we can turn it into Red if we want the monster negate, and the same Carrot is the same as Red, just for spell and traps. When your opponent activates a spell trap, you contribute another level rank Link 2 monster, negate that effect. And if you tributed a rank or a link, you even destroy the card. It's the same for Red. It only destroys the monster if you tribute rank or link too. So yeah, this is also a very strong combo off of just Swap Frog. It turns into a monster negate and then either follow up or a monster or spell trap negate. So also really, really powerful stuff for just one card combos. And the reason why it's so hard to like beat this deck, or why this deck is so strong, is because first of all, it's an XYZ centric deck, so it's got access to Zeus. If you don't use your Gigantic or your starter, because those lock you out of Zeus, of course. But everything here, all these Splight cards you see, they're all extenders, right? They're all extenders. As long as there's a level 2 on the board, they all special summon themselves, generate advantage, play well into boards because you have monster negates and spell trap negates, right? So you can put these up to interrupt. Very powerful. So yeah, it's a very, very strong deck, and I'm just going to show you. Don't interpret too much into this deck list as of right now. It is not super tested or anything. It is just the first stuff I'm playing around with. It's pretty solid though, I think. But I've been on Ash Blossom, Crow, and Gamma as my hand traps. Gamma because it's a level 2, so I can play Teleport as a little extender. It's not as broken as it is in like Punks, but it's good. Sometimes if you normal summon and they negate your normal summon, you can't really extend through without drawing Splight starters. So I like the Teleport sometimes, and Gamma is just a very powerful hand trap. And Crow is really good against Tearlament. It's really good in the mirror because you can hit the Ronin Totem and prevent the Totally Awesome. So it's kind of neat. I think Crow is powerful next format, but there's also some consideration in playing like Ghost Ogre. But for the most part, the most important thing, you're running Diva. The infantry is not mandatory, but I like the idea behind it because you can potentially... It's not in this version right now because I took the Djinn Buster and to show you the combo with the Djinn Buster, but normally with heavy infantry, you would be playing Cat Shark. And what that allows you to do is if you play Cat Shark instead of the Djinn Buster, you can summon Cat Shark with infantry as material, to be safer from Dark Ruler, because if you detach the infantry for cost from the Cat Shark because it's a water monster, you get to destroy a monster on the field, or a face-up card on the field rather. And that works even if the card is negated. You can still attempt to activate and detach, and that's still treated as detaching for cost. So you can... That's some neat plays you can do with infantry, but I'm not quite sure if it's necessary yet. I'm just testing. But yeah, you play the Diva package, you play the Frog package, of course, you play one dupe to summon off of Toad so they can't just attack over your negates to force them. You play 3 and 3 of the good splites for sure. So far, what I'm seeing the most is 1 red and 1 carrot, just because that's really all you need. They're not like insane starters. You play Prosp because this deck can. This deck doesn't draw, and you can definitely banish some stuff from your extra. Sometimes you only go for 3. The deck's already very consistent, but it doesn't hurt to have Prosp. Dark Ruler is something I'm playing around with. I've been told it's a good card in this next upcoming format. It's been okay so far, honestly. Sometimes I feel like the boards that Splight make are more like just good in grind games, not just completely busted outright. Like sometimes I'm only negating like 1 Toad, or against Tearlaments I'm not always negating shit. They have like back row and stuff, but it's a solid card. And then you play 3 starter. You play 1 Smasher, which is actually a card you haven't seen yet. Smasher is... You have to banish a Springin, Therion, or Splight, whatever they have to do with each other, from your hand or grave, then activate one. You can't use the first effect, you can't use the second effect. The third effect is banish 1 level rank link to you control and 1 card your opponent controls. So this is multiple things. This is a Mystic Mine out. This is something you can search with Splight Jet as an interruption if you want to be safer against something like Dark Ruler. You can search an interruption that way. And it's just general removal. It helps you dodge like Veiler sometimes. It's generic. It doesn't target. It's non-targeting Banish. It's just a very good one-of. And then we round it out with Teleport and Called By. The side deck is just the first thing. Keep in mind, something very interesting against Splight is that this card right here doesn't detach for cost. The effect is you detach 1 material from your monster, and if you do, special summon 1 level 2 from your deck. So you have to be able to detach in Resolve. That's why Ghost Ogre is very good against this card. Ghost Ogre is one of the best hand traps against Splight. They can play around it by summoning Splight Red before doing the effect. They can also sometimes play around it by making Almirage before using Gigantic Splight. There's 2 ways to play around the Ghost Ogre. But in general, sometimes Ghost Ogre is very strong against this deck. The reason why I'm not maining it right now is because it's very bad against Tearlaments. And Tearlaments is also a very powerful deck. By the way, let me know if you want the same thing. If you found this helpful and you want the same thing for Tearlaments, I can do that like start of next week. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. Yeah, other than that, side and extra is like some stuff I'm just trying out. Extra deck is actually very tight. There's a lot of optional cards. Level 2 toolbox is interesting for XYZs. You got the Zeus and Downer. You got the Toad, of course. You got the Splites. You need the Almirage. You need the Hulk for the line with the where you bounce the Ash that I showed you. You got IP, you got Dark Charmer, because in the mirror you can reborn cool things like their little splites, which are dark. You got the Unicorn for IP, you got the Trouble Sunny right now, which is just for the Ultimate Slay in the side deck. I'm not quite sure if I want that yet. Either way, this is it for my short little Splight intro. I hope this helped you. If you haven't looked at the cards at all yet, this should be a solid introduction into the topic for you. If you found it helpful, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you want the same thing done for like Tearlaments for the upcoming Power of the Elements format. And first and foremost, let me know if you are a fan of the fact, 2 things. If you are in Europe, do you prefer? Are you happy that we're playing the European Championship after Power of the Elements, or are you kind of sad about it? And the other way around, if you're not from Europe and you're from like North America, for example, are you happy that you're not playing your championship with Power of the Elements? Or would you rather have your championships after the new set. That's something I'm just very, very curious about. I personally like it. I like the fact that we get a new format for our European Championship, but I've heard different opinions, and I was just like wondering what you guys think. Other than that, you know, this is it. This is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like. Link to my Twitch stream is in the description below, where I'm playing this deck all the time currently, and some other stuff from Power of the Elements. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.